Hey guys, welcome back to Tennessee Urban Garden. Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to be making peach jam. I'm going to be canning it. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. And I'll show you how to do it the safe way. And I am using the recipe today out of my Ball Blue Book. Now you want to follow recipes that have been tested, because there's a certain amount of sugar and other stuff that goes into it to make it gel properly. You don't want to take recipes and make them different, make them your own. You want to stick with tested recipes that work. All right, so here's my recipe book. This is the pectin I'm going to be using today. I started using this last year because my favorite pectin, which is this, the ball pectin, I could not find it no matter how hard I tried. But this is the pectin I'm going to be using today. And I have my peaches. Now, if this is not enough peaches, when I cut them up and put them in here, I need 4 cups, which is 1 quart. So, if this is not enough, I have more. I got boxes of peaches to do this. You want to get peaches that are ripe, that are not hard. You don't want hard peaches for this. You want it ripe. They smell really good. They're ready to be used in jam. And I'm going to show you right here. This is my canning station I have set up. Now this is all clean. Everything's been clean. This is a clean towel. All my utensils I scrubbed in hot soapy water and then rinsed it off really good. I have a pan right here heating up so I can take the skins off the peaches. We're going to boil them and remove the skins. Here's my... Now I put all of these in the dishwasher last night. My dishwasher gets really hot. And then I rinsed them out this morning. And then I stuck them in here. And this I'm starting to let slowly heat up. Whenever you do canning, you want to have, when you put the water inside of your canner, make sure it's cold. You always start with cold water and slowly work up. See, right now I don't have it very high. I only have it at a 3 because I'm not ready yet, but I'm just getting the water slowly heated up. Everything needs to be sterilized before you do anything. I washed this pot, everything, with hot soapy water just a couple minutes ago, and I have some towels when I'm going to wipe off the rims. And then I have right here, I'm going to put some, I'm going to get that started up to boil. I'm going to put some hot water in it when it's ready. I have my lids and my bands. Now, some people say you don't have to boil the lids anymore and put them in hot water. I still do. I think it's a good practice to follow, especially you don't know what's touched your lids beforehand. So I always put hot boiling water in there right before, about a minute or 2 before I'm ready to use them. And then I have my lids, or my bands, that I also put hot boiling water on just to sterilize everything. I want to make sure everything is good. And I've never had a seal fail by doing this method. Some people say it's not necessary. Ball says you don't have to do it anymore, but I still do it. It's a good practice to follow. So everything is ready. This is heating up. This is slowly heating up because we have to peel. We're going to throw our peaches in some boiling hot water for a minute or 2 and then take them out and peel the skins. So here's the peaches, and this is the pot that I'm going to put. This is my jam pot. I only use this for jam. Now you don't have to have one. I just have one that I only use. I don't put anything else in this pot. So we're going to get ready. I'm going to show you what I do for the peaches and how to take the skins off, pit them, cut them into small chunks. You want really small, finely chopped chunks for peach jam. It's going to turn out great. It's going to be beautiful, and we need 4 cups. So I'm going to put 4 cups in here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the peaches and we're going to score the bottom. We're going to make an X, just a small X. I'm not going to be doing it all the way across, just a small, I don't know if you can see that, a small little X. And that's what we're going to do to all the peaches. So now that they're all scored, I'm going to flip them over, and if they have any of the stem part, I'm going to pop it off. Okay, so now I have them all over here. What you're going to do is you can either gently put them in, or you can use a spoon. Stick them in if you're afraid of being splashed, but you're going to put them in. Probably about that many at a time. And they're going to stay in there for about a minute until their skins start lifting off. Alright, so this has been in there for about a minute. This is how you can tell it's ready. If you just barely touch it, see how the skin's starting to come off now? So we're going to take the peaches out and put them in a ice bath. Alright, so we put these in an ice bath. Just trying to stop them from cooking. It'll help peel the skins off. Got the other ones in there. Once these are done, we're going to take them out, put them in here, let them sit for a couple minutes, then we're going to peel them and chop them up. Alright, so you can see the skin starting to peel off. If I barely touch it, it starts to peel off. So you just peel the skin off, have another jar or a bowl or something to put the skins in. Look how pretty that peach is. Just going to peel all the skin off. Make sure you get all of it. Don't leave any skin on there. Sometimes you have to look on there to make sure you got it all off. Most of the time it will pull straight off. You can feel around. Yep, see, now there's no skin left on this. What we're going to do, cut around it. Open it up. Take the pit out. Okay, and then this is what you want. Make sure there's no dark spots or bad spots on the peaches, and there's none on these that I see. If there is, you can take a smaller knife and just cut it out. Okay, now that I'm done taking all the skins off of them, you can feel around and make sure that none of them have skin left on it. Sometimes it's very fuzzy, so you'll be able to feel it. But once you're done with this, this is when you want to start turning up your canner. And I'm going to turn up my water on the back. And I kept that just in case I didn't have enough peaches when I cut it up, but I think I'm going to have enough. So, alright, so the peaches need to be finely chopped. So all you're going to do is cut them in some semi-small strips. And then I'm going to chop them up really fine. Because remember, this is going to cook down. If you have any big pieces, chop them down. Let's see how fine this is. I mean, I could go smaller, but this is a good size. See? I know it looks like mush, but it's not. So about that size, and I'm going to cut all of these and put them in here until I get to 4 cups, which is 1 quart. And another thing you have to remember when you're canning, the water you need at least 1 inch above your jars, especially at the end when you have filled them and you're getting ready to put the lid on to set your time. It needs at least 1 inch. Has to have at least 1 inch. I do mine more than 1 inch just to be safe, so that the water can go over the tops of your jars. Alright, this recipe calls for 7½ cups sugar and 1/4 cup lemon juice. Here's my 4 cups of peaches. Now I turned it on. It's on medium right now. It's starting to boil. I'm going to put the pectin in and stir it around, and then I'm going to add the lemon juice and the sugar, and I'm going to add the sugar slowly and keep stirring, and we're going to cook it until it cooks down. Alright, now it's starting to cook and boil. I'm going to open this packet of pectin. This is the powdered pectin. I'm going to stir it in. Alright, and what lemon juice I'm using, this is a lemon juice. You want to use bottled lemon juice for this, not freshly squeezed, because the bottled lemon juice is a guaranteed acidity, and that's what you want. And I'm doing 1/4 of a cup. Because freshly squeezed, you're not guaranteed for it to be a certain acidity, but this bottled is. Alright, well, I got a potato masher out because some of the pieces I must have missed were pretty big. So I'm just going to crush a couple of them up. Not a whole lot because I still like a little bit of chunk in mine. But you can smash them up if they look a little too big. Alright, so I'm going to start. It's starting to boil a little bit. I'm going to start adding in my sugar slowly. That's 1 1/2. And I need 6 more cups. Alright. So here's the last cup. I know it seems like a lot of sugar. And it is. They have sugar-free recipes, and they use a different type of pectin. It's in the pink box if you're using the Sure Gel. There's also different recipes for sugar-free that you can try too. You want to make sure you stir it in there real good. And then you want to bring this back up to a boil. We're going to turn it a little bit higher. Go slow. You don't want to turn it all the way up because you can scorch your jam. And you don't want to do that. I've done that before and it smells really bad. So just slowly turn up the heat to where you can start to boil. Alright. When you're waiting for this to boil, it's coming up to a boil. We want this to come to a rolling boil where it keeps boiling even if you're stirring it down. You can't stir down the bubbles. If you can stir it and the bubbles go away, it means that's not a rolling boil. And if you stir it and it keeps boiling, even though you're stirring it, that's a rolling boil. That's what you want to have. And you have to keep it there for a minute. And then you're going to have foam that creates on the top that we're going to skim off. But while we're waiting for this, remember to turn your canner up to high because you want it ready for, let's do it, about 8. For when this is done, you want this done ready immediately. See, now it's starting to get to the point where it's ready to boil. You want this ready. You don't want it cold. And this is almost done too. See, now it's starting to boil. We want this whole thing to become to a rolling boil. Alright, I'm trying to stand back because of the steam coming up here. Now, this right here is the foam building up. The white foam. Let's see if we can stir this. See how I'm stirring this and it's still boiling? This is a rolling boil. If I was stirring it, it wasn't boiling anymore. It wasn't ready. So now we're going to let it boil hard for about a minute, set a timer, and then after that minute we're going to turn it off, and all this foam here on the side, we're going to skim that off because we don't want that in our jars. Alright, my timer just went off. So we're going to turn this off, and we're going to let it sit. I'm going to scoot it off the eye. I'm going to let it sit for about a minute or so, and then I'm going to scrape off all of that whitish looking foam right here. And I'm going to use plastic spoon. I don't use any metal utensils when I am making my jams or anything, or even when I'm making my salsa. I use the silicone and then plastic. And I'm going to put the foam in this bowl. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hot water, I'm going to pour it in here. My lids are in there. And then I have my bands. And I'm going to sanitize all the stuff. Even though I already washed it, it's better safe than sorry. I'm going to sanitize all this. This is almost ready. So all this is ready to go. This is for me to wipe the rim of my jars before I put the lids on. That has a little bit of vinegar in it. Okay. Do this slow so you don't splash like crazy. Remember, they said this is an unnecessary step for your lids and your bands, but I think it is necessary. And it's just good practice, good habit to make sure everything is completely sterilized before you use it. And you can even take this and dump it in this water. It's almost boiling. And then I let it sit because I don't want anything on there, any type of bacteria on there. See, now that this has been sitting, you can see this is what we're going to scrape off. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the edge of this spoon and I'm going to just drag it across the top. You see it moving? See all that foam? We're going to dump it in the bowl. Now sometimes you'll get little bits of the peaches, but that's okay. You're not going to take them all out of there. Let's see if I can do this. You don't want this in your jar. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything, it just doesn't look good. And I don't like the foam in there, personally. And you just keep scraping until you get all the foam out. Now, some people say that you can put butter in this at the very end for it not to do to produce the foam, but I don't like doing that because my nephew has allergies to butter, so he can't have this if I put butter in it. And a lot of people either don't want the butter, have allergies, or whatever, but I don't put butter in any of my jams. Some people do. I just never saw it necessary to do that when you can just skim off the foam. Okay, I skimmed off almost all the foam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back on the eye right there, and I'm going to get one of my jars out. I'm going to show you how to do that. Alright, what I'm going to do, take my grabber, I'm going to get one jar, you grab it by the rim. I have water in it. I dump the water out. Some people bring up the whole thing. I don't like doing that. It's just personal preference. So I put it down. Put your funnel in. Now these jars need a 1/4 of an inch headspace. I'll show you how to use the headspace tool here in a second. Now the headspace tool, mine broke. It's usually longer. It's used to debubble stuff. Mine broke. Now right here, can't see it, but it looks like little stairs. One says 1 inch, 3/4, half, and 1/4. This bottom one right here is 1/4. That's how much headspace we want left in this jar. So when you stick it on jar, that's the one you put it on. If you needed a half, you put it here. Or 3/4, you put it here. If you wanted 1 inch, you put it here. We want 1/4 of an inch. So we're gonna fill this jar up more, almost to the top rim. It's usually around this little first line. That's 1/4 of an inch. So that's where I'm gonna put it. All right, so we're gonna put it back in here and get some more. Let's see. There we go. So there's 1/4 of an inch. You make sure it's right below it, not touching it. That's 1/4 of an inch. So when you have your jar ready, you want a clean towel. I have a clean canning towel. I bought these at Roll King. They're 100% cotton. You take it and you dip it in the vinegar and the hot water, and you go around your rim. So go around your rim, clean off anything stuck on there. Sometimes you'll get a lot, sometimes you won't. Now if you have a ton stuck on there, dip it again and get everything off. So when you do that, take a lid. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed, guys. And then we're going to come over here and get a band. All right. So what you're going to do is you want to tighten these only fingertip tight. You don't want to sit there and wrench them. You want to hold it. There we go. So whenever you start feeling a good amount of resistance, stop. So there you go. You're done. Don't tip this. Don't jiggle it. Pick it back up by the rim. Put it straight down in the water. Then get another jar. And I always put extra jars in here because I don't know. Recipes say only does a certain amount of jars. That's not always true. Sometimes you get more, sometimes you get less, even though you use the same stuff. Now you're going to repeat this step with all of your jars. Do not forget to wipe your rims because it will affect your seal, and you don't want your seal to fail because that will spoil your food. And remember, when people talk about headspace, they're not trying to confuse you. It's the space you leave in between your jam or whatever you're making and the top of the jar, because your jar is got to breathe some so it can, when it boils, and then it'll suck down your lid. You don't want to have it overfilled too much because it will come out of the jar inside your canner when you're canning it, and you don't want that to happen. So make sure your headspace is correct. Alright, I got my last jar right here. Now remember, if you have any extra jars, I usually do extra because you never know how many you're going to need. Because it may say one thing, but that's not always true. I'm going to get this jar out, and remember, dump it over the pot. I've done it too close to the edge before and dumped it all over my foot, and it hurt very bad. It burned me. I burned my foot, so be careful dumping it in the middle and slowly. Now remember, I wiped all the rims on these jars. Now that they're in there, I got 7 jars out of this. Now I'm going to turn this all the way up. And I mean all the way up on high. You want it on high. Now, put your lid on, and we're going to let this come up to a boil. We want this to be a rolling boil. When I open this lid, I want it to just start wanting to come out. That's when I'm going to set my timer. I think it's 10 minutes. Yes, it's 10 minutes. So Once this comes to a full boil, that's when you start counting for your 10 minutes. This is not boiling yet. This water was not boiling inside. You don't start it now because it's not going to set properly. You want your jam or jellies or whatever you're making to set properly. In order to do that, this needs to be up at a boil. Alright, I'm going to try to show you what it looks like when it's, may not because of the steam. See how it's boiling like that? Now you set your timer for 10 minutes. And don't open the lid no more. Leave it closed and shut for 10 minutes. And when the timer goes off, all you have to do is turn off your stove, let it sit for a minute or two for the boiling to go down, then I'll show you what to do. Alright, so the timer just went off. Turn it off. Move it to another eye. Well, in a second, I don't want to scrape my cooktop, but pick it up gently and move it over. Don't scrape your top, and let it sit for about a minute or two, and you can take off the lid too. Alright, see, now they've sat, it's not boiling anymore. So what you're going to do is take your grabbers. Be very careful, it's extremely hot. Resist the urge to tip your jars, okay? I know there's water on top. That water will evaporate off, and then you can also clean them later. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, put it on that counter over there. Alright. Make sure you got a good grip on it. Wherever you put it, leave it there. Make sure nobody touches or moves or anything. You're going to leave these here until the next morning. So the seals will start, you'll start hearing them pop about 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes it's right away after you take them out of the canner. And the little seal right here that looks like a little bulb on top will be sucked down. Now if any of them don't suck down, that means your jar did not seal properly and you have to discard that. But I'm going to bring the rest of them and put them right here. Alright, so here's the jars. This one just popped right before I started the camera, but leave them here. Now if you do multiple batches in one day, keep them separate, and then when you label them, because tomorrow I'm going to check them to see if they sealed, I'm going to take a warm washcloth and I'm going to wipe the outside of the jars off and gently wipe the lid once it's sealed down, and then I'm going to label them. I'm going to put what it is, the date, and I'll usually put a 1 or a 2. If I make multiple batches, I'll put 1 for batch 1 and so on. But make sure if you make multiple batches, label them and put the different batches in case one of your batches go bad, because sometimes that can happen and you want to know which one came out of which. I don't know if you can see it, this lid sucked down already. This one too. It's like a concave. It looks like this. It's not like the bulbous anymore. It's like this when it sucks down. When you hear them popping, that's good because that means they're sealing. Alright guys, so I let my jars sit all night. This is the next day. I made another batch from the first one. We let them sit. I don't know if you can see right here where the top pulled down and you can't pop it. This means that it's sealed. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take this band off. We do not leave the band on at all because these bands can create a false seal. If your jellies or jams, whatever you're canning, is sealed properly, you don't need that band because it's on there. I can hold this jar by its lid without it falling off. That means you have a good seal. It's sucked in. I can tug on it a little bit and it won't do anything. So what we're going to do is I'm going to remove all the bands. Now this is the second batch. This is the first batch. I'm going to keep them separate so I can label them. But this is how it's supposed to, the top's supposed to be. We don't leave the bands on ever. I know it's a little scary to take the bands off thinking that the lids are going to pop, but they're not going to if they have a good seal. And you want to know if you do have any organisms or anything growing inside your jar that can create botulism or any of those things. You don't want that. So don't leave your bands on. They'll be just fine like this. Nothing's going to happen to these. So I'm going to take off all the bands. All right, now what I'm going to do is we're going to take each jar and I'm just going to wipe the outside of the jar. Really good up near the top, and just barely wipe the top. Just to get any excess residue off your jar. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it turned out to be a beautiful jam. All right, now I got all my jars wiped off. All the bands are off. Keep the bands off. You need to know if they spoil. Keeping the bands on can create a seal, and you don't want that. This is my first batch, and this was my second. I actually got one more jar. Remember I told you to do extra jars, because sometimes if you use the exact same ingredients, you'll have more. I don't know how it happens, but I got one more jar than this one. Out of this batch, I use the exact same amount. I don't know if it depends on the fruit, how big the fruit is or what, but peach jam, it's easy. Try it. It's already starting to gel really, really good. I mean, I ate some of this yesterday that was left over in the pot, but was delicious. You never know if you don't try, so go ahead and try this recipe. I'll leave the recipe in the comments, or in the description box, sorry. And if you follow the steps, you make sure that you do everything properly, you'll have good jam that lasts 12 to 18 months. That doesn't last that long in my family. But happy canning. Alright guys, that's the end for the peach jam. Try the recipe, find some recipes online that have been tested. Buy a Ball Blue Book or any of the canning books and try some jams out and see what works best for you, which one you guys like. And I'll see you next time. Bye.